The Buckhead Heritage Gala was the kind of night that smelled like money, perfume, and quiet ruin. Amara Bennett walked through the ballroom in a gown that shimmered like liquid silver, her chin high, her smile flawless, her heart bleeding beneath the glitter. Everyone in Atlanta's upper circle whispered her name that evening, heir to Bennett House Media, the family company now hanging by a thread. Her father, Leonard Bennett, once the king of Southern storytelling, was losing his crown, and she could feel the pity brushing against her skin like perfume she didn't want to wear. She found him near the bar, a glass of bourbon trembling in his hand as he greeted investors who were already turning away. His eyes met hers for a second. Guilt flickered there before he looked down again. Amara wanted to scream, to shake him, to ask how a man so brilliant had let their legacy slip away, but tonight wasn't about anger. It was about survival. That was when she saw him, Malik Carter. The billionaire everyone in the room whispered about, but no one dared approach. His tailored black suit moved with a kind of command. Even the jazz band seemed to shift tempo as he passed. His skin was deep, smooth, rich like polished mahogany under the chandeliers. His presence magnetic enough to silence conversations. People said he'd turned Carter Labs from a startup in a single apartment into a multi-billion-dollar empire. They also said he didn't take meetings, he took control. He stopped in front of her, his eyes the color of aged cognac. "Miss Bennett," he said, voice low and steady, carrying through the music. "You dance beautifully for someone carrying the weight of a dying empire." Her spine straightened. "Is that your way of saying you've been watching me, Mr. Carter?" He gave a slow smile. "I don't make investments blind." She didn't know why she followed him to the balcony. Curiosity, defiance, maybe the silent pull of something darker. But soon she stood beside him under the soft breath of Atlanta's night air. Below them, the city lights spread like molten gold and the hum of cars echoed like distant thunder. Malik rested his hands on the railing, his watch glinting against the skyline. "Let's not waste time," he said. "Your father owes me $26 million. He can't pay it back." Her heart froze. "That's not true." "It is," he replied calmly. "And I'm not interested in humiliating him. I'm offering you an out." Her breath shook. "What kind of out?" "I'll clear the debt. In return, you'll spend 9 nights with me." Amara felt the floor tilt beneath her heels. The words were too calm, too cruel, too deliberate. "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious." He turned to face her fully. 9 nights, Amara. No press, no publicity, no strings beyond that. You walk away with your company intact, your father's reputation safe. Consider it an arrangement. Her voice was thin but sharp. "An arrangement? You're buying me?" "I'm offering you a choice," he said, stepping closer. "You can let everything your family built collapse, or you can trade time with me for the freedom you want." "I don't take what isn't given." The night wrapped around them. The magnolias rustled below. The city glowed like temptation, and her heartbeat was a drum inside her chest. She could feel the warmth of him, smell the faint spice of his cologne, hear the certainty in every syllable. He wasn't playing games. "Malik Carter never did. Why me?" she asked softly. He studied her face, his voice dropping to something almost intimate. "Because every man in that ballroom stares at you like a prize, but they don't see you. I do, and I don't like pretending anymore." Something inside her twisted. Anger, pride, maybe the echo of something far more dangerous. "If I say yes," she whispered, "that's all you want?" "For now." He smiled faintly. "But when I write it down, there'll be one more clause." Her pulse skipped. "What clause?" "If those nights give us a child, you won't run. You'll accept it." She stepped back, breath trembling. "That's insane." "Maybe," he said. "But I've never done anything ordinary." Amara turned away, looking out over Atlanta at the towers that gleamed like promises and threats. Every rational part of her screamed to walk back inside. But then she thought of her father's tired eyes. The employees who'd worked decades for their family, the name carved on every bookspine in their offices. She thought of legacy and love and the quiet cruelty of being powerless. She closed her eyes, forcing steel into her voice. 9 nights, she said finally. "That's the deal." Malik didn't smile this time. He just nodded once, as if sealing fate itself. 9 nights, he repeated. "And when it's over, everything that's yours stays yours." He extended his hand. His palm was warm, strong, and steady when she placed hers in it. The touch burned like truth. The music drifted faintly from inside, laughter echoing through crystal light as if the world hadn't just changed. Amara Bennett had just sold 9 nights of her life to the most dangerous man in Atlanta, and somewhere deep inside, she already knew 9 nights would never be enough. The elevator doors slid open to the top floor of Malik Carter's midtown high-rise, revealing a space that looked more like art than architecture. Floor-to-ceiling glass framed Atlanta's skyline, the city glowing beneath a curtain of rain. Amara stepped out, her heels soft against marble so dark it reflected the lights like water. She had expected something cold, maybe cruel, a penthouse built for conquest. Instead, it was quiet, warm, lit by soft gold lamps and the distant sound of vinyl humming low. Malik stood beside the window, his jacket off, sleeves rolled to his forearms, the city fire painting his skin bronze. He turned when he heard her, gaze steady but unreadable. "You came." "I keep my word," she said, her voice steady though her pulse betrayed her. He poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to her. "To honesty. At least tonight." She hesitated, then took it. "You want honesty? Fine, I hate that I'm here." He nodded slowly. "Good. Then we're starting with the truth." The air between them thickened, not hostile, charged. He didn't move closer right away. He let silence do its work. When he finally stepped toward her, it wasn't the predator's walk she'd braced for, but something slower, measured, curious. He reached out, brushing a stray curl from her shoulder, his fingers barely grazing her skin. "You think I brought you here to hurt you?" "I don't know what to think." "Then let me show you." He took her hand, guiding her through the open living room. The scent of rain drifted in through the cracked window, mingling with sandalwood and wine. The music changed, soft R&B, deep bass, and breathy vocals, and somehow it steadied her. "Tell me something," he said quietly. "When was the last time someone saw you without asking for something in return?" Amara blinked, caught off guard. "That's a cruel question." "It's an honest one." She looked up at him, eyes narrowing. "Is this what you do? Strip people down with questions until they owe you something more than their pride?" He leaned close enough for her to feel his breath. "No, tonight you don't owe me anything. You're here because you chose to be." She laughed once, bitter and low. "Don't pretend this is choice, Malik." He met her gaze. "Then make it one." Her chest tightened. For the first time that night, she saw not the billionaire with power to destroy her world, but a man whose eyes carried their own kind of loneliness. Sharp, controlled, and tired of pretending. Something unspoken cracked between them, fragile but real. He stepped back, offering her the glass again. "If you drink this, it means you stay because you want to. If you set it down, I'll drive you home and your father will still have his company, but we'll never speak again." She stared at the glass, her reflection trembling in the red surface. The city thundered outside. The decision was impossible, and yet it wasn't. She lifted it to her lips and drank. Malik exhaled softly, as if he'd been holding that breath for hours. He took her hand, slow, deliberate, guiding her closer until the rainlight wrapped them in silver. His touch wasn't demanding. It was reverent, tracing the outline of a promise he hadn't spoken aloud. When his mouth met hers, it wasn't hunger. It was confession. The kind that started in the soul and burned its way out through skin. The kiss deepened, slow and fierce, her body answering before her mind caught up. His hands framed her face, steady, protective, grounding her in the storm of everything she was feeling. The city lights outside blurred into gold streaks as the rain thickened, thunder rolling like applause. The world felt suspended, just heartbeats, breath, and the rhythm of a night that wasn't supposed to mean anything but already did. Later, when they lay tangled in sheets soft as whispering silk, Amara's head rested against his chest. Malik's hand drew slow circles along her back, silent, thoughtful. She expected triumph in his expression, maybe satisfaction. Instead, he looked almost peaceful. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm fine," she whispered, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. He smiled faintly. "You don't have to be." For a long time, they said nothing. The rain softened to a hum. The lights dimmed, and in that fragile quiet, something dangerous happened. The beginning of trust. She told herself it was just one night out of 9. A transaction. A line she would cross and then leave behind. But deep down, she already knew the truth. The deal she made wasn't about saving her father's company anymore. It was about saving a part of herself she didn't realize was dying. The part that still believed love could come from the most impossible places. Morning crept into the penthouse like a secret, pale sunlight spilling across the glass and silk. The storm had passed, but its memory still clung to the air. Amara woke first, eyes half open, her body wrapped in warmth that wasn't entirely her own. Malik lay beside her, one arm draped over the sheets, face calm in the early light. Without the sharp edges of control, he looked human, almost gentle, and that frightened her more than anything. She slipped quietly from the bed, gathering her dress from the floor. Each step toward the bathroom felt like moving through fog. The mirror caught her reflection, hair tousled, lips swollen, the faintest mark along her collarbone. She pressed her fingers to it, not in shame, but disbelief. The woman in the mirror looked alive in a way she hadn't in years, and that realization cut deep. When she came back, Malik was awake, watching her. "You were trying to leave without saying goodbye?" "I wasn't leaving," she said, though her bag told another story. He sat up, the sheets falling around his waist. "You don't owe me an explanation, Amara, but I want you to look at me and tell me you regret last night." She hesitated. The truth caught in her throat. "I don't regret it," she said finally, voice barely above a whisper.
She didn't run.
"But I don't understand it either." Malik rose and crossed the room, barefooted, every movement deliberate. "Then don't try to understand it. Just let it be what it was." "That's easy for you to say," she shot back, anger surfacing to cover confusion. "You walk away from everything untouched. I have to live with what people will think. What this means for me, for my family, for my father's name." He stopped her with a look, steady and quiet. "No one will ever know. I gave you my word. And I'm just supposed to believe that?" "Yes," he said simply. "Because I haven't lied to you yet." Her breath trembled. "That doesn't mean I can trust you." Malik's expression softened. "Then trust yourself. You came here because you decided to. You stayed because you wanted to. Whatever happens next, you control it, not me." The words disarmed her more than any charm could. He wasn't playing dominance now. He was giving her agency back, and somehow that felt more intimate than the night itself. He walked to the kitchen, pouring coffee, the casual normalcy almost absurd. "Stay for breakfast," he said over his shoulder. "No business. No conditions. Just food." Amara hesitated, then sat across from him at the long granite counter. He handed her a mug, steam curling between them like truce. "You cook?" she asked, half smiling. "Only when I'm trying to remind myself I'm still human," he said. She laughed softly despite herself. It was the first real sound of ease between them. He glanced up at her, eyes warm, voice low. "I don't want these nights to be about obligation. I want them to mean something, even if it's just truth." She met his gaze, her heartbeat slowing to something steady. "Truth," she repeated quietly, as if testing the word. For a moment, neither spoke. The city moved far below, rain-washed and awake. The air felt fragile, suspended between two people trying to rewrite what power and tenderness could mean. When she finally left that morning, Malik didn't stop her. He just followed her to the elevator, hands in his pockets, and said, "When you want to come back, call me. If you don't, I'll understand." The doors closed between them with a soft hiss, and Amara stood alone, her reflection doubled in the mirrored wall. She told herself she wouldn't return, that this was control, that she could still draw lines and keep her heart untouched. But as she walked out into the sunlight, she realized the line had already blurred. She wasn't sure what scared her more, the deal she'd made, or the way her soul had started to crave the man who made it. 3 weeks passed like a half-remembered song, familiar, haunting, impossible to stop humming. The nights she spent with Malik replayed in flashes, the warmth of his hands, the silence after laughter, the way his voice softened when he said her name. She told herself she was fine, that those nights were over, that she was only focused on Bennett House Media's survival. But each morning the lie felt thinner, easier to see through. The company had begun to recover. The press was quiet, contracts renewed, investors suddenly confident again. Malik's influence moved behind the scenes like invisible protection, discreet and effective. Her father noticed the turnaround, but never asked how it happened. Maybe he didn't want to know. Maybe he already did. Amara buried herself in work, staying late at the office, convincing herself that exhaustion could drown memory. But her body had its own truths, and one morning they refused to stay hidden. She sat in her office, lightheaded, staring at the untouched coffee on her desk. Her assistant, Tiana, noticed. "You okay, boss? You look pale." "I'm fine," Amara said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." By noon, the lie cracked. The nausea came in waves, merciless, undeniable. She closed her laptop, grabbed her coat, and drove herself to Dr. Aaliyah Mitchell's clinic on the edge of Midtown. The same clinic where her mother once came for checkups. The familiarity felt cruel now, a reminder of the life she thought she understood. The waiting room smelled of lavender and antiseptic. Her fingers trembled around the clipboard. She didn't even remember filling out the forms. The words pregnancy test felt like someone else's handwriting. When the nurse called her name, her legs moved before her brain did. In the small white room, time seemed to stretch. Dr. Mitchell entered, kind-eyed, calm. "You're Amara Bennett, right? Haven't seen you in a while." "Just a routine check," Amara said, though the crack in her voice gave her away. The test took seconds. The waiting took forever. When the doctor finally returned, the softness in her tone told Amara everything before the words did. "You're pregnant," she said gently. "About 3 weeks, maybe a little more." The world tilted. Amara gripped the edge of the exam table, breath caught between disbelief and panic. 3 weeks, she whispered. The math lined up too perfectly. The gala. The nights. Malik, Dr. Mitchell kept speaking, vitamins, rest, first trimester appointments, but Amara barely heard. The words swam through a fog of shock. She nodded mechanically, thanked the doctor, and stepped outside into sunlight too bright to bear. In the car she sat for a long time, fingers pressed to her stomach as if she could feel the heartbeat that didn't yet exist. Her throat burned. This wasn't part of the plan. She wasn't supposed to feel anything, not love, not longing, and certainly not this fragile spark of life tying her to a man who had rewritten every rule she'd lived by. That night she stood in her apartment, staring out the window at the same skyline she'd once shared with him. Her phone lay on the counter, Malik's number glowing on the screen. She hovered her thumb over the call icon, then pulled it back. Not yet. She needed to decide what this meant for her. Not for him, not for her father, not for the company. Her reflection in the glass looked calm, but her heart was chaos. She had entered that deal to save her legacy. Now, inside her, something larger than legacy had begun. Something real. Something alive. And for the first time since that night on the balcony, Amara Bennett didn't know if she was terrified or in awe. 2 weeks passed before Amara saw Malik again. She had ignored every message, every call, each one a temptation she refused to touch. Yet the silence felt heavier with every day. Every night she dreamed of him. Not the billionaire who'd bought 9 nights, but the man whose voice had once made her heart steady in the dark. When his assistant Tiana called with a message, "Mr. Carter requests dinner." No agenda, just conversation. Amara almost deleted it. But something deeper, stronger than pride, made her say yes. The restaurant was small, tucked into a quiet corner of Old Fourth Ward, far from the glittering towers where people measured their worth in headlines. Malik had chosen privacy, candles, soft music, the faint rhythm of jazz that curved through the air like memory. He stood when she arrived, pulling out her chair without a word. "You look tired," he said gently. "I've been working," she replied, sliding into the seat, trying to hold together what's left of my family's company. His eyes softened. "You did more than hold it together. Bennett House Media is thriving again, thanks to you." Amara studied him, wary. "And your influence had nothing to do with it?" He smiled faintly. "I only opened doors. You walk through them." The waiter came and went, invisible between their words. As they ate, the tension slowly thinned, replaced by something quieter, a mutual awareness neither could name. Malik watched her with a look that carried regret and restraint in equal measure. "I made a mistake," he said finally. "The night I gave you that deal, I thought control would keep me safe. I thought if I defined the terms, I could stop wanting something real. I was wrong." Amara's fork paused midair. "You think an apology erases what you did? You asked me to sell my dignity for a company." He met her eyes, steady and open. "I asked you to let me see who you really were. And you did, but I was too much of a coward to admit I wanted more than 9 nights." Her heart pounded painfully. "You don't get to rewrite history, Malik. I'm not trying to." He leaned closer, his voice low and rough. "I'm trying to write the truth for once. I want you. Not your name, not your company. Just you." The words landed like a blow. gentle but too honest to ignore. Amara looked away, blinking hard. She hadn't planned to tell him tonight, hadn't rehearsed how, but the secret burned her throat until it broke free. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. The world went still. The jazz faded, the candles seemed to freeze. Malik's expression didn't shift at first, just quiet shock, followed by something deeper, almost reverent. "Say that again." "I'm pregnant," she repeated, her voice trembling now.
"It's yours." For a long moment, he didn't move.
Then he exhaled, the air leaving his chest in one slow rush. His hand reached across the table, tentative, almost afraid. "How long have you known?" 2 weeks, and you didn't call me?" "I didn't know what I wanted," she said honestly. "I still don't." He nodded slowly, processing, his jaw tight with emotion.
Are you okay?"
She almost laughed at the question. "I don't know yet. I haven't had time to be." Malik looked at her then, really looked. The man who negotiated billion-dollar deals every week suddenly seemed fragile, human, undone. "You don't have to decide anything tonight," he said softly. "But I want you to know this changes everything. Not because you're carrying my child, but because I finally realize what I feel for you doesn't have conditions." Her heart trembled at the gentleness in his voice. "You expect me to believe that?" He reached into his pocket and placed a small velvet box on the table. Her breath caught. He opened it slowly, and not a ring of diamonds, but a simple gold band engraved with a single word inside. "Promise." "This isn't an engagement," he said quietly. "It's not pressure. It's a promise that you'll never have to face this alone, no matter what you choose." Her eyes stung. The old Amara, the one who believed every man with power wanted ownership, didn't know how to process this kind of humility. The new one, the woman who had seen him at his most vulnerable, felt something break open inside her. She reached across the table, resting her hand over his. "You still have a lot to prove," she said softly. "I know," he replied. "But let me start with dinner." For the first time that night, she smiled. Not the practiced smile of the heiress-saving face. The real one, fragile and real. The air around them shifted, no longer charged with fear but possibility. The man who once controlled every outcome had finally surrendered to something he couldn't negotiate. And for the first time since the deal began, Amara Bennett didn't feel like property. She felt like a choice. The rain started again that night, thin sheets tapping against Amara's apartment windows like whispers from a story she couldn't escape. She stood barefoot, one hand resting lightly on her stomach, staring at the skyline where Malik's tower rose like a dark promise. His words from dinner still echoed in her mind. No conditions, no pressure, just truth. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe herself even more. Her phone buzzed on the table. "Malik, you don't have to be alone tonight. Not ever again." She stared at the screen, her heart torn between instinct and longing. Pride told her to stay. Something deeper, something that felt almost like peace, told her to go. An hour later, she was standing in front of his door. Malik opened it before she could knock, as if he had been waiting the whole time. He said nothing at first, just looked at her, his eyes reflecting the same storm she carried inside. "I shouldn't be here," she murmured. "I know," he said softly, "but you are." The silence between them wasn't heavy this time. It was alive, a quiet understanding that words could only ruin. He stepped aside, letting her in. The room was dim, lit by the soft flicker of candles and the low hum of jazz again. She walked past him, her movements slow, unsure but honest. "Why are you doing this?" she asked finally. "You don't owe me anything. You could walk away right now and no one would blame you." He shook his head. "You still think this is about debt, Amara? But I don't want freedom from you. I want presence with you." She frowned, confused. "Presence? I've spent my whole life chasing control. Deals, numbers, outcomes. But the only thing that's ever felt real was the moment you looked at me and didn't see power. You saw me. You have no idea what that does to a man like me." Her throat tightened. "And what if I can't give you what you want?" He took a slow step closer. "Then I'll stay anyway." The honesty in his voice hit her like warmth after cold. She looked at him, at the quiet certainty on his face, and something inside her cracked open. Without another word, she stepped into his arms. His embrace wasn't possessive, it was grounding. The world stopped spinning for a moment. Later they sat on the couch, rain still whispering against the glass. Malik handed her a folder from the table, legal papers with her company's name printed across the top. She glanced at him. What is this? Ownership transfer, he said. Bennett House Media. Back in your name fully. No shares, no silent control, nothing tied to me. It's yours again. She stared at the document, stunned. Why would you do that? Because I meant what I said. I don't want what belongs to you. I just want to be where you are. Amara felt tears sting her eyes before she could stop them. She had spent her life surrounded by men who wanted pieces of her. Her name, her reputation, her value. Malik Carter was the first to give something back without asking for anything in return. She reached for his hand, her voice trembling. You're really letting it go? He smiled faintly. It was never really mine. The sound of thunder rolled in the distance, soft and low. Malik brushed his thumb across her knuckles, his eyes steady. I don't know how to do perfect, Amara, but I can do present. I can be here. Her gaze dropped to the simple gold band on her finger. Promise. It wasn't an engagement. It wasn't forever. But it was real. That night she stayed again. Not as a woman bound by a deal, but as someone learning how to choose presence over fear. When she woke in his arms, she didn't feel trapped or indebted. She felt seen. For the first time since the gala, she wasn't thinking about what she'd lost. She was thinking about what she might be brave enough to keep. The morning sun slid through the blinds of Malik's penthouse, warm and unhurried, but Amara's heartbeat was anything but calm. Today wasn't a board meeting or a negotiation. Today, she would see proof of what had already changed her life. She sat in the passenger seat of Malik's car, her fingers twisting the edge of her sweater as the city passed in slow motion. Malik drove quietly, his hand resting near hers on the console, occasionally brushing against her skin. It wasn't possession anymore. It was presence, wordless and grounding. When they reached Dr. Aaliyah Mitchell's clinic, Malik opened her door and waited until she stepped out. The waiting room buzzed with soft laughter, women flipping through magazines, fathers checking their phones. For the first time, Amara wasn't an observer of life's chapters. She was living one. Inside the examination room, the scent of disinfectant mixed with lavender. Amara lay back, her breath caught between hope and disbelief. Dr. Mitchell smiled kindly. You two ready to meet your baby? Amara nodded, her throat too tight for words. Malik moved beside her, his palm sliding into hers, firm and reassuring. The gel was cold against her skin. The machine hummed to life. And then sound, a faint, rapid thudding, delicate but unstoppable like a secret rhythm from another world. That's your baby's heartbeat, Dr. Mitchell said, smiling. Strong one, too. Malik's entire body went still. His thumb tightened around Amara's hand as his eyes filled with something she had never seen in him before. Pure wonder. He leaned closer, staring at the flickering gray image on the monitor. And for once, the man who controlled empires looked small in the presence of something greater than himself. Amara turned her head toward him. His jaw was clenched, his eyes bright. You okay? She whispered. He nodded slowly. Yeah, he breathed. I just didn't know it would sound like that. Dr. Mitchell smiled and adjusted the monitor. Would you like to know the gender? Amara hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded. Malik's grip never loosened. It's a girl. The words hung in the room like music. A girl. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Amara laughed softly through her tears, the sound breaking and healing all at once. Malik bent down and kissed her forehead, his voice trembling. A daughter, he whispered, tasting the word like prayer. The doctor handed them a small printout of the ultrasound, a blur of light and possibility. Amara traced it with her fingertip, the paper trembling between her hands. Malik reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, handing it to her wordlessly. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet engraved with the words, "For her first steps." I had it made before I knew, he said quietly. I just had a feeling. Her chest ached. Malik, he shook his head. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. The drive home was silent, but it wasn't empty. Every streetlight they passed seemed softer. Every corner of the city somehow changed. When they reached his penthouse, Malik walked around to open her door again. But Amara caught his wrist before he could. You don't have to keep proving yourself, she said gently. I'm not, he replied. I'm just learning how to stay. That night, they lay together on the couch, the ultrasound photo resting on the table in front of them. Rain brushed against the windows again, steady and familiar. Amara rested her head on his chest, listening to the rhythm beneath his skin. For the first time, there was no transaction, no contract, no fear, just heartbeat and quiet human love. When she closed her eyes, she thought of the tiny sound in that room, the rhythm that now tied them both forever. She smiled against his chest, whispering into the dark. She already has your strength. Malik kissed her hair and your heart. Outside, the rain fell softer, as if the city itself had begun to believe in their peace. For weeks, everything felt weightless. Amara moved through days wrapped in a new kind of quiet joy, morning sickness fading into soft laughter, late nights spent choosing names, Malik insisting on cooking breakfast that always burned but made her smile anyway. Their world had finally found rhythm, built not on contracts or conditions but on choice. She told herself she could trust this, trust him. But peace, she learned, never lasted long when the world smelled a story. It started with a phone call just after dawn. Her phone buzzed endlessly on the nightstand. Malik was still asleep beside her, his arm heavy across her waist. She slid out of bed and answered quietly. Amara Bennett? Yes, who's this? This is Channel 11 Atlanta. We'd like a comment on your relationship with Malik Carter. The rest blurred. Her stomach turned to ice. Within an hour, her face was everywhere. News sites, blogs, business forums, photos from the Gala, one from a charity event, one grainy shot of her leaving Malik's building at night, and headlines that cut through. Her like glass, media heiress sells her nights to billionaire, the 9-night deal. By the time Malik came downstairs, she was sitting on the floor, phone in hand, eyes red. He froze when he saw the screen. Who leaked it? He demanded. Does it matter? Her voice cracked. It's out. Everyone knows. My father called. Reporters are outside the house. He reached for her. Amara, don't, she said, standing. Don't tell me you can fix this. You can't buy this one away. He exhaled hard, guilt flickering across his face. I'll find out who did it. I'll shut it down. You think shutting it down will undo what people believe? They'll say I sold myself for my family's company. They'll say this baby was a business arrangement. Her voice broke, and he stepped forward, cupping her face. Then we'll tell the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is that I agreed to something I should never have. And now, no matter what we say, I'm the scandal. She pulled away and grabbed her coat. I need space. I can't breathe here. Amara, please, but she was already at the door. I just need time. The elevator doors closed between them, echoing the same hiss as the first morning she'd tried to walk away. Malik stood in the empty hallway, hands trembling, realizing this was a fight he couldn't win with logic or power. I'd seen. Amara went back to her apartment, shut the blinds, and turned off her phone. For 2 days, she didn't leave the couch. She watched the city lights blink outside her window and wondered how something that had begun in sacrifice had turned into love, and how love could hurt this much. Every notification on her phone was another dagger. Comment sections, gossip shows, strangers dissecting her choices like entertainment. On the third night, there was a knock at her door. Tiana stood there, rain-soaked, eyes fierce. You're hiding, she said. I'm protecting what's left of my dignity, Amara whispered. Tiana handed her a tablet. Then you should see this. On the screen was a press conference, Malik standing at a podium, cameras flashing around him. He wasn't reading a statement. He was speaking from the heart. 3 months ago, he said, voice steady, Amara Bennett made a deal that saved her father's company. She did it out of love, not greed. And I was the man who turned that love into a bargain. That's on me. But what came after wasn't part of any deal. It was real. She didn't belong to me. I belonged to her. The crowd erupted in questions, flashes bursting like lightning. Malik lifted a hand. You can write what you want about me, but if you come for her, you'll have to come through me first. The feed cut off. Amara sat frozen, tears spilling down her cheeks. Tiana smiled softly. He didn't call the lawyers. He didn't spin it. He just told the truth. Amara set the tablet down and pressed her palms to her face. All her life, she'd believed that power corrupted honesty, that men like Malik only protected what they owned, but here he was proving her wrong in front of the world. She drove through the rain that night, the city blurring past her like a heartbeat. When she reached his building, security waved her through without a word. Malik stood by the window, tie loosened, exhaustion etched across his features. He turned when she entered, surprise flickering into relief. "You didn't have to do that," she said, voice trembling. "Yes, I did. You put everything on the line. Your name, your company. I've had all that before," he said quietly, "but I've never had you." The distance between them vanished. She stepped into his arms, the tension of days breaking into one long breath. His embrace felt like home after exile. "I'm sorry," she whispered against his chest. "I was scared." "So was I," he murmured. "But fear doesn't build anything, love does." She looked up at him, eyes shining. "You really mean that?" He smiled faintly. "For once, I mean everything." Outside, the rain finally stopped. Inside, the noise of the city faded, leaving only the sound of two people learning how to trust again. 2 weeks passed before Amara agreed to meet Malik again. Not because she doubted him anymore, but because she needed time to breathe, to find herself again beyond the noise. The world had quieted since the press conference. His words had changed the story. The narrative that painted her as a scandal had turned into something else entirely. People calling it a modern love story. Sacrifice turned sacred. She didn't read most of it, but she heard enough to know the truth had finally found a voice. When Malik asked her to dinner again, she didn't say no. The restaurant he chose wasn't grand this time. It was small, private, filled with warm candlelight and the hum of quiet jazz. He'd reserved the same table they'd sat at the night. She told him about the baby, only this time the tension was replaced by stillness. She entered in a flowing cream dress, her small bump visible now, beautiful in its defiance of the past. Malik stood when he saw her, awe written across his face. "You're glowing," he said softly. "And you're still bad at compliments," she teased. He smiled, that same faint, humble smile that had become his real language. "You look like everything I never thought I deserved." They sat. The food barely mattered. Conversation flowed like quiet music, laughter, small stories, the kind of ease that only exists between people who've already seen each other's worst and still stayed. At one point, she looked up at him and said, "You know, I almost walked away forever." He met her gaze. "I would have followed you anyway." It wasn't a line. It was the truth, raw and simple. When dessert arrived, Malik stood suddenly, moving to her side. She frowned, confused, until he took her hand and helped her to her feet. "Malik, what are you doing?" He didn't answer right away. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a small box, different from the one before, and sank to one knee. The room seemed to stop breathing. "Amara Bennett," he said quietly. "I met you because of a deal that should have ruined us both.
Stay for breakfast.
Instead, it taught me what love really means, that it's not control, it's surrender. You've taught me how to be honest, how to show up, how to stay, and now I want to spend the rest of my life proving it." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, elegant, timeless, set with a single diamond surrounded by gold shaped like a heartbeat. "Marry me, not because you have to, because you want to." Tears blurred her vision. The restaurant faded. The cameras, the world, the noise, gone. It was just him, on one knee, eyes steady, heart open. "Malik," she whispered, voice trembling. "I spent my whole life believing love was a story written by someone else. You made me realize I can write my own. And yes, I'll marry you." He rose, sliding the ring onto her finger. The room erupted in quiet applause, but neither of them noticed. He cupped her face, kissed her softly, and the world seemed to exhale with them. When they finally pulled back, Amara pressed his hand to her belly. "She's kicking." she said with a tearful laugh. Malik smiled through the blur of emotion. Even she approves. They left the restaurant hand in hand, the city glittering around them like the night they first met. Only this time there were no bargains, no conditions, no fear. Just two souls who had fought their way through every storm to stand in the light together. As they stepped outside, Malik looked up at the Atlanta skyline and whispered, 9 nights turned into forever. Amara smiled, her fingers tightening around his. Best deal you ever made. The spring sun spilled golden light across the garden at the Bennett estate, the same home once shadowed by debt, now alive with laughter, jazz, and the scent of magnolias. Rows of white chairs faced an arch wrapped in soft pink flowers and silk. The breeze carried the low hum of conversation, the rustle of dresses, the music of hope. Amara stood behind the open doors, veil light as breath, her gown hugging the gentle curve of her pregnancy. In the mirror's reflection, she saw not the heiress who once bargained her soul, but the woman who had learned how to live with her heart unguarded. Her father, Leonard Bennett, entered quietly, his eyes glassy with pride and regret. "You look just like your mother," he said softly. She smiled. "Then she's here with us." He took her arm, voice trembling. "You sure about this, baby girl?" Amara nodded, completely. The music shifted. The doors opened. The guests rose. And at the end of the aisle stood Malik Carter, tall, composed, but undone the moment he saw her. His eyes said everything words couldn't. Love, reverence, disbelief that the world had allowed this to happen. As she walked toward him, every step felt like the closing of a circle. The whispers, the shame, the deal, the heartbreak, all dissolved under the weight of grace. When she reached him, he took her hands and whispered, "You take my breath away every time." "Good," she said with a tearful laugh. "You owe me a few." The minister's voice faded in and out of the wind, but the vows were their own language. Malik promised not perfection, but presence. Amara promised not silence, but truth. And when they said "I do," it wasn't ceremony. It was redemption. When he kissed her, the garden erupted in applause. But for a heartbeat, the world was utterly still. Just them, bound not by a deal, but by the choice to keep showing up for each other. Afterward, as dusk fell, the reception shimmered under strings of warm light. Friends and family filled the dance floor. Leonard held his granddaughter's ultrasound picture like treasure, and Tiana danced with Dr. Mitchell near the fountain, laughing. Malik and Amara slipped away from the crowd, down a path lit by candles. They stopped beneath the magnolia tree, the same tree that had shaded the Bennett home for generations. Fireflies blinked between the branches like quiet stars. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You happy?" She looked up at him, eyes glowing. "I didn't know happiness could feel this calm." He placed his hand over her stomach. "Our daughter's going to have everything we never did." "Not everything," Amara corrected softly. "She'll have better. She'll have truth." He smiled, pressing his forehead to hers, "and maybe a little bit of her mother's fire." She laughed low and warm, and her father's stubbornness. They stood there for a long time, the night humming around them, the world at peace for once. Years later, the sound of laughter would fill another home, one in the same neighborhood, where Amara's books lined the shelves and Malik's company thrived without the hunger that once consumed him. Their daughter Zara would run barefoot across the hardwood floors while her father chased her with a camera, and her mother shouted from the kitchen to "Slow down before you break something." And sometimes, when the house grew quiet, Malik would still whisper the same words he had said that night at the restaurant. When forever first took shape, "Best deal I ever made." And Amara, smiling against his shoulder, would always reply, "No, Malik, it stopped being a deal the moment we fell in love."